Tree. We're continuing our Tarot 2x2 series. We're comparing each card of the major arcana with its sort of partner card. And today's card is the Tower. There is perhaps no other card in the tarot deck as confusing as the Tower card, because it doesn't mean simply change and you'll be better for it. That's a really superficial understanding. This is a card that will bring some profound change to you. It will be a card of feeling a great deal of loss, and through that, with some help and some luck, you can emerge wiser, like emerging into the light from under a veil. And we'll see more about this in a minute. The first 10 cards describe the Kabbalistic tree of life. The tree of life shows us reality the way it should be. And that's on the first tree, the tree of life. The cards 1 through 10 describe that. And that's a Kabbalistic structure, sort of a framework of the religion. In a sense, the second tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, shows us reality, the same reality, the way it could be, the way some of the things on the tree of life may appear a little differently in certain situations. Before we start, let's define what the Tower card means. And this is just this is a spoiler alert. This is just an overview. The Tower card tells us that no established system, method, guru, or organization can have all the answers. And that's the essence of this card. There is no system, organization, method, or guru that has all the answers. Learning from them is important, and you'll gain a lot of wisdom. But if you want to find the truth, the meaning, some of the final answers, you will have to leave the system or the organization. That's the basis of this card. It sounds a little complicated, perhaps, but the complicated nature of this card, I think, usually ends up being a very superficial explanation of what it means. This is a card that shatters us before it rebuilds us. I just want to talk a little bit about some of the misunderstandings, and this is Waite as he describes the Tower, and it's convoluted. Occult explanations attached to this card are meager and mostly disconcerting. It is idle to indicate that it depicts ruin in all its aspects because it bears this evidence on the surface. It is said further that it contains the first allusion to a material building, but I do not conceive that the Tower is more or less material than the pillars which we have met with in 3 previous cases. I see nothing to warrant Pappus in supposing that it is literally the fall of Adam, but there is more in favor of his alternative, that it signifies the materialization of the spiritual world. The bibliographer Christian imagines that it is the downfall of the mind seeking to penetrate the mystery of God. I agree rather with the Grand Orient that it is the ruin of the house of life when evil has prevailed therein, and above all, it is the rending of a house of doctrine. I understand that the reference is, however, to a house of falsehood. It illustrates also in the most comprehensive way the old truth that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. There is a sense in which the catastrophe is a reflection from the previous card, but not on the side of the symbolism which I have tried to indicate therein. It is more correctly a question of analogy. One is concerned with the fall into the material and animal state, while the other signifies destruction on the intellectual side. The Tower has been spoken of as the chastisement of pride and the intellect overwhelmed in the attempt to penetrate the mystery of God, but in neither case do these explanations account for the 2 persons who are the living sufferers. The one is the literal word made void, and the other is its false interpretation. In yet a deeper sense, it may signify also the end of a dispensation, but there is no possibility here for the consideration of this involved question. That is very complex, and it may be hard to decipher the meaning. The one part that rings true to me was spoken of through Waite by Grand Orient, and that it is the ruin of the house of life, and it is the rending of a house of doctrine. And that's exactly what this card is. It is the establishment, the belief system that is at some point proven wrong, and you can no longer adhere to it. Let's describe the card. A gray tower stands tall upon the cliff-sided summit of a mountain. Gray clouds gather against a black sky. The tower is being hit and destroyed by a lightning bolt. An imaginary golden crown of authority has been blasted off the top of the tower. As fire rages out of the windows, a commoner and a king jump or are flung to their presumed deaths. The lightning bolt is divinity or full understanding. Some people would say this is God's will. Other people would say this is the law of the universe being enacted. Although it destroys the tower, it releases yods or awareness. Those are those golden drops falling down that suggest that this is not just random or malicious. This is a case of things unfolding with sort of a spiritual guidance, or perhaps even something condoned by the wisdom of the universe. Although it destroys the tower, that's the lightning bolt, it releases those yods or awareness. They surround the commoner. As he falls, there's some divine grace around him, suggesting that if he could accept the fall of this tower, this paradigm, he can reemerge into the light a little wiser than he was before. He can still learn. But there are no drops of golden energy around the so-called king, who does not learn and clings to his institutional beliefs. We'll see more about that in the questions. The commoner will face this fall, this shattering of what he presumed was knowledge, and he will emerge from it with a clear idea of reality. The king is a person who identifies with this institution, with the tower, and he will be unable to learn anything new. He will just begrudge the fact that the tower isn't in existence any longer. The meaning of the card, as I said, it's a difficult concept, but once we grasp it, it's going to seem self-evident. When beliefs become incorporated, widely accepted, and institutionalized, they limit the input of new ideas. And this happens as numbers increase. Some people say there's a natural number of humans that can work together, about 150. There's something that creeps in when an idea and a belief system become institutionalized. The ideas that brought them together become rigid, exclusive, and ultimately restrictive. They will not receive new information if they think it will contradict something that came before. But having said that, on the first tree, we can see that this card is represented by the Hierophant, who is a great teacher. These institutions were not dismissing with the tarot card, with the Tower card. These institutions are our ancestral knowledge and wisdom. We must learn these, we must grasp them. But none of these institutions are going to answer all of your questions, because there is a limiting factor when humans exceed a certain number and establish a belief system. There's a rigidity that won't allow evolution. we can build on this, which is the wisdom of our ancestor. Established institutions of belief worship the old wisdom. It's not lost with every new generation, but they can become suspicious of new avenues of wisdom. Before Tarot by the Tree, no one remembered that the tarot cards were designed to teach the meaning of the cards by aligning them into two groups. The Tree of Life, 10 cards. The 11th card is suspended. This is the, sort of the memory cue. And then on the second tree, the cards 12 through 21. Those two groups will show us the mirror image of each card, and that's what we're seeing. On the Tree of Life, the importance of knowledge, of institutional wisdom, of signing up to learn, to take courses, to apprentice, these are all important things. The other side of this card is the Tower card that says, no one thing is everything. The Tower card is really just a reminder. Learn from the established systems. Imagine surgery, or religion, or the designing of cars. All of these systems are necessary. You can't instinctively acquire this knowledge. It would take more than your lifetime, because this knowledge is the accumulation of many lifetimes. These systems are necessary, but no one system has all of the answers. And all of this may seem obvious, but there is a message in the Tower card. Avoid trying to become the system you are studying. In surgery, procedures develop and ideas of truth and efficiency can change. In surgery, there's just not one procedure that is expected to last for all time. Similarly, you can learn from a religion without defining yourself completely as an aspect of that religion. Because again, institutionalized religions will teach, will educate, will enlighten, but none of them can contain the whole truth. This is according to the tarot card. Designing cars also change with materials and fuels. We are thinking and evolving individuals. We must be free to doubt, to question, accept, or reject. We are not meant to be imprisoned by paradigms and rules about the unknown. We're going to look at some, I think we've sort of described, I'm going to give a bunch of situations now that are examples of the Tower card in action. There'll be some overlapping. My point is that this is not a card to be treated with lightly. This is not a card saying you're going to have some difficulty, but then it'll be all right. This is a card that says you're going to have to let go of some deeply held beliefs. That's going to leave you feeling empty and lost. You can wallow in that feeling, or you can emerge out of it, and now you know some things aren't true, and you can proceed with the acquisition of truths. Let's look at some examples of the Tower card in action. One is escaping a prison. This is a positive look at it. The Tower card that you feel has just destroyed everything. Think of it as you've escaped a prison. You're not going to have the routine, the food, the camaraderie that you're used to. You lose your previous life, but you emerge as a free person. Number two, a romantic breakup. You find out that your lover is fake and you move on, and this is the Tower card. You may believe that the person you're in love with has done this, is doing that, and will do something else. You may believe in deeply in their plans, and you may admire their history. When you find out that this is untrue and they have been untrue to you, that's an example of the Tower card, of the things you previously held as correct and inviolable are suddenly shattered, and you realize that they are not a form of truth. Another example of the Tower card is realizing you are not who you thought you were. When put to the test, your beliefs fail you and your techniques just don't work. This can be a case of somebody who believes they can do something, and then when put to a real objective test, they fail and they have to question their beliefs. And they may make excuses. They may say, well, the stars weren't in the right alignment, or I wasn't feeling that well that day. Or they may wisely say, okay, I guess what I thought was like a special power of mine really isn't. That was self-deception. And now I can move on, and it's a form of enlightenment through pain, though. Another case of the Tower card. You see the uncomfortable truth about someone you used to admire. Their reputation is based on lies you used to believe, but now you know are false. That is when you see somebody else you've grown up is like a hero to you, and then you find out that they were doing bad things, and it was all an illusion. It was all hype. It was all promotion. That's the Tower card. It's a shattering of dearly held beliefs and the forcing of you to come to a new awareness. Another case that could be the Tower card. The burning away of illusion. Learning there is no Santa Claus. There'll be a little bit of pain there. But as you mature, knowing there isn't a bearded man in the North Pole with flying reindeers, that's going to serve you. That's going to be a bit of your wisdom. Another case is when you have a feeling of betrayal. It's not a pleasant thing. No one was lying to you, but everyone but you believed in the same falsehood. So you're in a group of people that believe that by doing a certain ritual, you can make something happen. And they all believed that. And that belief fed back and forth into each other in sort of a feedback loop. And then one day you realize that they're all wrong. They're all lying to each other, and that group lie becomes almost a belief system in itself. That feeling of betrayal, when everybody around you who was convincing you this is right, you suddenly realize, no, you're right, and they're all wrong. That can be a Tower card moment. Tower card moment can also be the moment of insight, when you willingly walk away from what you used to accept. That is enlightenment, and it also will involve loss, but in this case, it's willing. Painful change, a reluctance to let go, deep doubts, and gradual insight grudgingly absorbed. That's sort of the pathway of the Tower card. Painful change. You just can't believe you're going to have to let go some deep-seated beliefs, but you have a reluctance to let go. You have deep doubts. You have deep doubts about what you used to believe in, but you still want to find a way to believe in them again. And then that gradual insight, grudgingly absorbed, where you end up saying, okay, I guess I was wrong. I guess they were wrong. And now you actually know something. You're not being fooled. Clarity, simplifying your life, demanding proof, and at times feeling alone. Those are some of the steps of the Tower card as well. You're going to be seeing more clearly. You won't be wasting your time on ritual. You're simplifying your life. You demand proof. You're not going to accept what the group says, because as we've already discovered, the group can have a kind of failure to grasp reality on a group level. That can almost be institutionalized as well. You will feel alone. As you lose the false beliefs, there may be a circle of company around those beliefs, and they may be more separated from you. And finally, the Tower card is you find the truth, but everything in your life has to change. It would be like if you were in a group that had a belief system that certain people were bad. Later on, you got to know these people, and you realize that people are people, and you no longer accept prejudice and beliefs of that old group. You will leave that group because what was once true to you now seems only an unfounded belief. And that's one of the changes in the Tower card. It's the movement from belief to understanding. The Tower card destroys a belief system. Like Santa Claus, this can be a component of growing up. But there will be a sense of loss and reluctance at the beginning. Hope, belief, and faith do not necessarily become truth and logical fact. Only some people believe that hope, belief, and faith are attributes we should aspire to. Hope, belief, and faith can attach you to a group, a club, or a course. These feelings guide us, but they can also trick us. Hope, belief, and faith are feelings. Very often, these feelings feed into our sense of self-importance. They become bound to our psyche. The tarot card suggests we must always be prepared to be wrong. That's why in science, they're always called scientific theories. Everything we believe just might be wrong, and that's the realization that this card gives us. Okay, Joss, are there any questions?
Well, first, hello from Pixie Dust,
Hi, Pixie Dust.
Sarah,
Sarah.
and Cobalt.
Hi, Cobalt.
I assume.
Yeah, Cobalt had that question
Yeah.
a while ago. It was good.
And Sarah always has
I know.
good questions too. I assume that the Tower card means change. Can't change be a good thing?
Yes, change can be a good thing. If we don't change, we're going to remain infants all our lives. Something we gain wisdom by just learning something new. The Tower card means learning something new, but there's another part of it. It means discovering what you knew before was false. The first thing is letting go of what you believed in so that new, truer beliefs can enter.
Should I be afraid of the Tower card?
Only if you value comfort and self-deception over truth. I suppose there are some people who find living in a prison comforting and predictable and safe. Other people would like their freedom. If you value comfort and self-deception over truth, the Tower card may be something that you would fear. A belief can be false. Faith can leave you disappointed. Hope does not always bring about what we want, and truth can give or take. In the case of the Tower card, it's going to take some beliefs from you before it gives you any back.
It makes me think of that Y-File program where he talks about the myth or the what people think, and then almost near the end, then he goes, okay, now for the truth. And what he noticed is that a lot of people stop listening after that point. So
That's
to
so
your
funny.
point.
Yes, and there's a famous psychological experiment where a group of people come into a room and they have to reach a consensus about which line is longest. What one of the people doesn't know is that everybody else is a plant. So there are similar lines, and the newcomer, not knowing that the others aren't newcomers as well, will say, well, that's the longest line. But all of them say, no, the second longest, which is very similar, is actually the longest. Time and time again, the newcomer bends his will in favor of what the group is saying. And that's part of this too.
Is the Tower card the Tower of Babel?
Yes, in a way. I don't think that this is exactly talking about the different languages and the problems of too many people. We have talked about that before, and we do think that's an aspect of this card. But I'm going to say yes, it's like the Tower of Babel. We're often sucked into a belief system just because a lot of people you like or admire subscribe to this system. And in fact, if you look at why you vote for who you do, and a lot of our belief systems, some of it can be based on what others are doing, especially if those others are people that you admire. We can be fooled into thinking that a shared belief can unite people. Both the towers, the Tower of Babel and the Tower in the card, fell due to discord and differences.
Why is the background of the Tower card all black?
A black background means there is only emptiness behind. The Tower of False Belief, and we can call it that, is like the Devil card. In the Devil card, you worship somebody willingly. You become, in a sense, married to them. You're an acolyte, you're a fan. But behind, the meaning behind this person you're following is just black. It's emptiness. It's a pointless endeavor. You're following only your emotions, and that is really echoed in this card. The Tower, behind it, there was nothing. It had become more of a place of ritual than of understanding. And these two cards show that behind the false teacher and behind the false institution, there's only emptiness.
Can the Tower card ever mean the destruction of a person?
Is that question 4?
5.
5. Yes. Not everybody gets over a confrontation or an experience with the Tower card. The Tower card, everything you've worked for, everything you believe, everything you take pride in, it's false, and you feel like you've been a liar or you've been lied to. In fact, the Tower card in its most positive position is a 2-step process. The first step, total rethinking of what you used to believe was true. Thinking that you were wrong or mistaken, which is going to be very difficult for a lot of people, and accepting that you now face a certain loss and emptiness, and that's not pleasant for a lot of people. That's the first step. It's the destruction of what you used to believe in. There is a second step, finding new truths, following better ideals, emerging wiser once you're freed from the Tower of false ideas. And I hope that helps with the Tower. It gives you that this is not a card to be taken lightly. Great things happen, but you are going to lose some things that you used to think were great. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.